Hello, this is the first ever CoryTellAllSports road trip podcast. I'm sitting in the car with my brother Rory.
Hey guys.
And we were just watching the games up on Watch ESPN app. We're in Philly, coming back home. And so we thought, what better to do than to have a podcast?
And don't worry, Cory is not driving and talking right now. Our dad is driving and our mother is in the car. Thank you guys for letting us do the podcast.
Yeah, so, we're here. We're going to go around a bunch of different topics today. We got some good stuff planned for the show. So we're going to begin with the what's supposed to be a eventful NBA trade deadline. Turned out to be pretty much a dud. Yeah. We had no big names move. Rondo didn't get moved. Carmelo didn't get moved.
I was very surprised at Lynn not getting shipped to somewhere.
And the Heat didn't make any moves. CoryTell, my brother, didn't get moved. Nobody got moved on the NBA trade deadline. So, very little activity. A little disappointed by that. Teams weren't really willing to spend any money or go out and make a big deal, Rory. It was surprising.
The biggest trade of the whole trade deadline was the Pacers actually acquiring Evan Turner from the Sixers, and the Sixers actually got a Danny Granger with an expiring contract, so a good deal by all. And the Sixers core just have a plethora, an ample amount of second-round picks.
Yeah, next year's draft is just going to be the 76ers second-round draft. They have 9 picks, I believe, in the second round, somewhere around that range. They got a bunch of second-round picks here. It's cheap guys who you can get in the second round, so I see what the Sixers are doing, bottoming out. They're putting guys on the floor. It's Tony Rowden and Michael Carter-Williams and then a bunch of D-League guys. It's pretty bad right now.
It's pretty bad. There's really just been nothing going on. One thing, if you want to go onto Twitter, it's been, you saw Kobe not happy with the Lakers actually shipping out Steve Blake to
the Warriors.
The Warriors. He was not happy about that, but overall, really nothing happening. No big teams acquired any big players, so it was kind of uneventful. And Cory, do you think the Rockets should have tried to get rid of Lynn?
Yeah, I think that the Lynn trade was maybe contingent on them bringing in Rondo. I know there was some talks of that, but the Celtics would have wanted back some picks and probably Chandler Parsons, who the Rockets were just not going to give up. He's a long guy, good defender, and so they need him on the team.
From Florida, Billy Donovan has praised him. Really, he was kind of a lanky guy, a little weak, but he's grown stronger, got a good mid-range game, and I actually am a big fan of Chandler Parsons. And I'm a Kentucky guy, so I'm not a big fan of Chandler Parsons, but he has done well in the NBA.
Yeah, so, that trade didn't go down, and not a lot of activity. We're going to break it down a little bit, trade by trade, go over a brief analysis. So we'll begin with the Pacers, as Rory said, getting Turner and Lavoy Allen. The Sixers get Danny Granger. Granger has not looked that good this year.
It's kind of been tough. He was their main scorer a couple of years ago, but with Paul George really stepping up his game, he really hasn't found his rhythm. And with an expiring contract, it was necessary to ship him off. And I'm an Evan Turner fan. I think he's a good player. He's a little awkward. He's in a mix of a shooting guard, small forward type. Point guard. He's not really one of the best players, but he's pretty good.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Pacers and Frank Vogel utilize his minutes, because they do have Paul George. And it was tough for Granger to get in the lineup at 30 years old. He didn't have the same bounce in his step, really didn't play that good of defense. So the Pacers are going to have some trouble with how to utilize Turner.
Yeah, but Cory, how about those Bobcats and Bucks? They're making moves all around. Really exciting. The Bucks with 8 wins just. I think with this new acquiring of Ramon Sessions, they're really going to up their chances again in the playoffs.
Poor Ramon Sessions. He's been on, this is his 5th different team, his 2nd time with Milwaukee, just gets shipped around everywhere. I actually think he's a pretty good player. He's good with the Lakers.
I like him, but, it's just unlucky for him. And then Spencer Hawes to Cleveland. And I think that's a pretty good acquisition for them. Cleveland, they can't really find their foot in, really just hoping for LeBron to come back, to be honest.
Yeah, Cleveland, they're 22-34 right now. I'm not really sure what they're going after. They were looking to shop Dang, who they acquired from the Bulls, and then they weren't, and then they got Hawes, who, it will be good. He stretches the floor. He's a 40% three-point shooter, but I'm just not really sure what the incentive for Cleveland is, what they're trying to do right now. Dan Gilbert's obviously a relentless owner.
I admire his Twitter page. That's all I'm going to say. Very funny.
So, Hawes goes to Cleveland. The Sixers get Earl Clark, They get Sims and 2 second-round picks. So, once again, getting picks. I mean, our Sixers, we love them.
Yeah, and you know you're having a tough season when on the 76ers homepage, instead of announcing the players that they're getting first, it's the amount of second-round picks they have first, and then the players come next. That just shows you kind of an overall sign of how the 76ers are doing this year.
So the Sixers, yeah, they're trying to get picks, as we've been talking about. Another trade to look at was the Nets. This was a little before the trade deadline, but the Nets got Marcus Thornton, a good shooter, and the Kings...
Another shooter, though, Corey.
Yeah.
I mean...
And the Kings got Jason Terry, who has 1 year left in his deal, along with Reggie Evans. Terry's had a terrible season, career lows in almost everything. He's shooting 32% on twos, which is atrocious.
Never really been the same since the Dallas championship year.
Yeah, so they shipped them off to the Kings and their non-existent defense, which Terry will also bring.
Yeah. But to be honest, I kind of want to talk about the teams who really didn't make trades. I want to talk about the Heat. Do you think they should have made any acquisitions? I mean, the Pacers have been making a lot of acquisitions. Obviously, the Heat are just staying the same.
I mean, I don't think the Heat had a lot of cap room. And they also, I think they're going to rely on Odin when they do face the Pacers. I mean, I really think everybody thinks they'll meet the Pacers.
But Corey, is Odin going to be healthy? I mean...
That's the question
mark.
mark.
Playing that much, not that many minutes, and I just think if they don't have a big guy, I mean, it's just going to be a very tough game.
I mean, he's a 7-foot body inside, and the Pacers they have Bynum, who, I mean, who knows with Andrew Bynum, I mean.
But, I mean, if Bynum comes to show up along with Hibbert, I mean, that's just impossible. That's just going to be offensive rebounds on offensive rebounds for the Pacers. That's not going to look like a good matchup.
So that didn't go down. Also, another interesting name that we've mentioned a little earlier is Carmelo on the always interesting Knicks, who are 21-35. Who would have thought that coming into the season? What do you think about the Knicks not trading Melo, who is a free agent this coming year?
Well, I think, in my opinion, I think he's going to resign. I think he's going to stay in New York Knicks. I know a lot of people disagree, say maybe he'll go to LA, a place with big cap space. But I think they shouldn't ship him off. But I think they should get rid of Mike Woodson. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't out of his job next year.
Yeah, I mean, the Knicks have just been terrible this season. Amari is still on the books for 1 more year. His contract's obviously terrible.
Amari is the clumsiest player ever, Corey. It is tough to watch him play now.
Yeah, I mean, they have problems. They have Felton. They're not shooting the ball well. J.R. Smith is untying people's shoes. I mean, it's a mess there. I'm not really sure what they're going to do. But, so you think Carmelo will stay?
I think he will, in my opinion.
So you think it was a good move not to trade them?
I think it was a good move not to trade him.
All right.
I think they need to get a new staff and just prepare for next year, to be honest.
Okay, so that was a nice little NBA little trade deadline preview.
But now to
breakdown.
But now to the heartbreak for me, Olympic hockey. As all of you know, USA lost to Canada in a thrilling semifinal game on the Olympic rink in Sochi, and I was actually watching that game in my health class, and luckily my teacher was a little delusional, wasn't noticing of me watching the game, but I did shed a couple tears after Canada beat my U.S., and it just no offense for the U.S., nothing to get going, 3 or 4 power plays, not even one shot, great power killing by the Canadians.
Yeah, so the Americans lose that, obviously, heartbreak there in the semifinals, go down to Canada, and then just laid an egg today against Finland, losing 5-0 to the Finns. Finland actually medals for the 5th time in the last 6 tournaments, so that's nice for Teemu Selanne and Tuukka, who played amazing in net. But the U.S. team...
And also guys like Olli Oikonen and Timonen, I mean, they have a good first line, not a lot of depth, but hey, that just shows you. I mean, they showed effort. I mean, they didn't take their loss and just be depressed like the U.S. looked. The U.S. looked like they had no gas at all, and they just showed out depressed with no effort. And I mean, how can you expect to win? I mean, I just was surprised that they didn't show up for bronze. I mean, I know they didn't beat Canada, and that is depressing, but you got to show up for the bronze medal game. It was very disappointing for the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, the U.S. looked flat after Teemu scored that goal on the short side of Quick. The next goal came right after that, and they left Suter on a 2-on-1, and nothing Quick could do on that goal, and they just looked like they didn't have the effort in the fight, and we don't go home without a medal.
I think Quick played well. I think he was the one person really giving it his all, but I mean, when you're defense and there's no forechecking, it's just very tough to get control.
Yeah, so, I mean, the Americans, the problem was the goal scoring, as you mentioned.
Obviously.
In the first 4 games that the U.S. played in preliminary and the quarters against Czech. Against Slovakia, Slovenia, Russia, and as I said, Czech Republic, they had 20 goals. Against Canada and Finland, no goals.
And it was very unfortunate TJ Oshie wasn't on the ice for the two shootouts the two penalties. Yeah. Patrick Kane 0 for 2. Really didn't like his penalties. Looked kind of indecisive, and you cannot do that. You gotta have a set move in mind. I thought he should have went for the Mighty Ducks triple stop, but that's my personal opinion. But obviously unlucky for the U.S.
Yeah, I mean the first penalty shot, he went too deep into the net. And couldn't get the backhand up into the top corner. The second one was a pretty good penalty shot. Went off the crossbar. I don't think you can fault him too much there. But I mean, yeah, unfortunate that Oshie wasn't on the ice. Kane had a tough tournament. 4 points, no goals, 2 missed penalties.
And I'm most surprised that Zach Parise, though, the captain of the USA team, he was non-existent throughout most of the tournament, to be honest. He just didn't show up the times that they needed. And it's just very disappointing all around from the Americans. Can't blame one person. Just the team in general.
Yeah, I mean, the offense wasn't there. Although we had guys like Kane, Parise, Kessler, Pavelski, I thought had a good tournament. But in the last 2 games, we just couldn't get the shots on the net. And that's what we needed.
And for most of the uneducated fans that don't really follow hockey and just watch the Olympics, it's not about just shooting, like just shots like right off the rip going in. A lot of hockey is those garbage goals, the goals around the net, around the crease, that you just got to hammer in. You got to take the shots, bounces, weird deflections with people deflecting, and that's what most of the goals in hockey are. So just a quick note from the unknowledgeable fans.
Yeah, I mean, in that game against Canada, there was one, Stasny went right across the net, couldn't get his stick on it. I mean, that could change a game, and the Canadians did a good job against us. Price had a great game in goal, and I mean, that really just deflated our sails and just not a good game. So we turn to the gold medal game tomorrow, the last event of the Olympics. The Canadians, who are going for their 9th gold and 2nd in a row, against the Swedes, who are going for their 3rd gold medal in the last 6 tournaments. They won in '94 and 2006. So we have that game to look forward to.
I think it's important to note that teams like the Swedes and Finland are good hockey teams because, I mean, you obviously get a lot of attention over USA, Canada, Russia. But Sweden has a bunch of very good NHL players. Alfredson, Sandin, Sundin, Backstrom. A bunch of good hockey players. So Sweden should not be overlooked at all, and they're a big team too, so they won't be outsized against the Canadians.
Yeah, and they have Lundqvist in goal, obviously one of the best goaltenders in the world.
Personally, and I hate him because he's on the Rangers, and I'm a Devils fan, but he's just amazing.
So Lundqvist is going to have to make a lot of saves tomorrow. The Canadians' offense has not looked great this tournament. They've been able to muster through victories.
But their defense, Corey, is just so sharp.
Yeah, Shea Weber, a bunch of guys. I think they'll have to get Crosby going without Tavares, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, shorthand, they look stronger on D. It's just ridiculous. Their power killing is amazing.
So that's a big game to look forward to tomorrow. All the Canadians are going to be pumped. So that's just a little Olympic hockey preview. Now we're moving on. We're going overseas. We're looking at a little soccer right now.
Across the pond, as they would say.
Of course. So, first off, with the Champions League, just to run down the scores, just in case you guys didn't catch them. Barcelona beat Man City 2-0.
No, Barcelona, the first team is the away team.
Yeah. PSG beat Bayer Leverkusen 4-0. Atletico Madrid beat AC Milan 1-0. Bayern beat Arsenal 2-0. So all the away teams won. So there goes logical thinking, saying that the home teams have an advantage.
And that's big, considering away goals for the uneducated fan is huge in soccer. And Barcelona and Bayern Munich had 2 big goals in the 90th minute. One for Dani Alves for Barcelona and another one for Müller. So that really stretches the league. And basically, it's very tough for Man City and Arsenal to get back in it.
Yeah, so just to go through the games real quickly. Barca benefited a lot from the Di Michaelis red card. Yeah. Messi scored the penalty. Always hard to play with 10 men.
Yeah, it's very tough, especially against Barcelona, a team that plays that tiki-taka style, very possessive, spreads the field, bring it down the middle, and then that's just Barcelona's style, just keeping possession. Man City without Aguero, they had nothing really going up top.
Yeah, so I mean, it was tough for City after they went down to 10 men. They were going to counterattack early in the game, but once Di Michaelis got that red card, it's so hard to muster anything against Barcelona, who do such a good job of winning the ball back after they lose it. So that was very difficult. PSG went up 1-4-0. Ibra with 2 goals.
Oh, Ibra, just a tank.
I mean, one of his goals is incredible. I mean, just classic Ibra. So, I mean, Ibrahimovic.
Nothing really
Ibrahimovic.
going on there. Just a rout for PSG.
So
Who's looked strong all season, especially in the French Premier League.
So PSG went up 4-0 on the road. That should be a comfortable victory for them. Atletico beat AC Milan 1-0. Diego Costa with the goal. Header.
And AC Milan just really hasn't looked comfortable this season. El Shaarawy really hasn't hit his form like he was last season.
Mm-hmm.
And Balotelli just, again, looks uncomfortable. I mean, he's made some sick goals in the past, but just they couldn't really get anything going at their home in AC Milan. So it was a disappointing loss, but I, as always, do not count AC Milan out. With the power of El Shaarawy and Balotelli, they're never out. Especially with that goal-scoring ability.
So Clarence Seedorf is going to try and get the AC Milan back into the second leg in Madrid. And then we have the final game. Bayern beat Arsenal 2-0. Changing moment was the Szczesny sending off.
Yeah,
Arsenal went down to 10 men having to defend, and they lose 2-0.
But even before that, Ozil missed the PK, which could have totally swung the whole momentum of that game. Would have made 1-0, and this was before Szczesny was actually sent out. So that would have changed the whole momentum of the game. But then after that, actually, and it was surprising because Alaba actually had a terrible PK against, I believe, Fabianski, the backup goalkeeper for Arsenal, who actually did a good job kind of guessing. But Alaba made a terrible PK. But at the end, again, like I said, Müller with a huge goal in the 90th minute. That's 2 away goals to them. It's going to be very tough for Arsenal to get back in that game.
A few notes on that. First, we'll start off. Toni Kroos, unbelievable curler.
Oh my God.
Any doubt he deserves to get a new contract should be tabled. He's incredible.
Great center midfielder, and you're looking at a team with some of the best midfielders in the world. I think he's deserving of starting over guys like Schweinsteiger. I mean, obviously they can play by him, but he's personally one of my favorite center attacking midfielders. And by the way, put him on your ultimate team. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. He's a great card to get. I agree with that. And then also, any doubt that Pep Guardiola made a mistake starting Lahm in midfield. Such a delicate little pass to Müller for the header. That was very nice to see. And then we'll switch over to Arsenal really quickly. Ozil, what have you been seeing with him? He's been struggling.
He's been struggling as of late, just hasn't really found his touch. But if you move on to the Premier League, they played today, actually. They played really well.
Ozil was not in the lineup, but they did play very well.
They did play very well. And if you look, what I noticed against someone, obviously a weaker team than Bayern Munich, but they have to
way weaker. It's not even, they don't even deserve to be on the same pitch.
Let's clarify that. Bayern Munich is a million times better than Sunderland. But just, it's always good. I mean, they're obviously still a pro team, so you can't dismay them.
Yeah.
And what I saw from Arsenal that they really need to continue doing is the possession in the attacking third. Sometimes you don't want to possess it deep in your defending third or even in the middle, but when you're in that 30-yard space from goal, that's where you have to pass. And they had about 20 passes before they scored their first goal, beautiful. 15 on their third goal, and it's just beautiful possession in the attacking third. Great combination plays by guys like Santi Cazorla, Rosiński, and just amazing attacking plays. And that's what they have to do. They have to control it in that attacking third. And even before Szczesny sending off, that's what they kind of had to do in their Bayern Munich game. More possession in the attacking third.
And in the day that Bergkamp got honored, great one-touch passing from Arsenal, so they go up 4-1.
Mm-hmm. And keep up with Chelsea, who won today with a John Terry header off a Frank Lampard cross. And
well, I mean, I'm not even sure if Terry got a foot on that. It's debatable. Yeah. But, I mean, Chelsea wins the last-minute winner. Those are the kind of games that you need. Chelsea has not had the same, prowess or physical or kind of what you see with Liverpool or Arsenal with the beauty of the game, but they've been getting it done.
And that was kind of like Man U last year. They didn't win the cleanest games, but when the time came up, when it was the last 10 minutes, last 5 minutes, they found a way to win. And that's why you look for teams that are going to be at the top of the league at the end of the season. So it's a good win by Chelsea, although I really don't want them to win. Being a Man U fan, and by the way, Man U, a nice 2-0 win at Crystal Palace. Some nice plays, actually. The first half really had nothing going. The second half, a clear penalty. Robin Van Persie just amazing to the right, to the lower right corner. Goalie went the opposite way for Crystal Palace. And then Wayne Rooney, oh my God, what a volley from outside the 18. A nice ball back from Evra. It looked like the old Man U. And just a quick note, because I am a Man United fan, for those who don't know, I think personally our problem has been the defense. Our defense has just let too many stupid, annoying plays get by. Nemanja Vidic is getting a little old. He's not going to be playing next season, I believe. And Ferdinand made his 8th cap of the season. They just look a little out of form.
Yeah, so a few things on United. first, as a Chelsea guy, if Moyes was a Chelsea boss, he would have been out 10 months ago, before he even started. I mean, we just switched managers that often.
Abramovich does not take a loss for an answer, I'll tell you that much.
So I mean, but I think in Moyes' defense, United has not had the same team that they had in previous years. Rooney and Van Persie were both out. They just got Mata. I think that United will make top 4, which is crucial because there's huge monetary losses if they don't make that top 4. And they have to make the Champions League for next year.
And especially with the recent acquisitions of Juan Mata, it'd be very disappointing, and Fellaini.
Yeah, so United, I think, is looking fairly strong. The question is, where is Mata going to play? Because they have Van Persie up front. Rooney likes to play in behind him a little bit.
So, let me tell you, because I was watching the game very closely and listening to the announcers and making my own kind of assess of the game. And they were kind of playing a 4-4-2, but a loose 4-4-2, in which Fellaini kind of held, but he was also pushing forward, and Juan Mata was playing a right because Januzaj plays the left mid.
Yeah.
But Juan Mata at times was having combination plays with Januzaj. They're very free-floating in the midfield, very interchangeable roles. So I kind of like that because Juan Mata is one of those players who can just roam around and place those lovely chip balls into Van Persie, into the feet of Van Persie. Very good combination plays, but not a lot of width that we're used to seeing. Not because with Sir Alex Ferguson, you saw he used Ashley Young, Valencia, kind of to push out wide and to cross it in, and Wayne Rooney and Van Persie were great at heading, and volleys still are, but a little more down the middle attacking from Man United. That's what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, Januzaj provides the width on the left. I think that Mata is very similar to Sylvie, likes those little gaps.
Yes.
And so
plays great on one touch in the 18, those small areas. He even becomes better.
So that's our little soccer preview. And now we're going to move on to our next topic, which is college basketball. So much going on right now. I mean, we're not even going to talk about the Accenture match play, but that's another thing. So just so much. So college basketball now. Cuse had a very tough week this week.
Yeah, very tough week. First losing Boston College at home, and then Duke away on a controversial charge call, which in my opinion, it was a charge. He was outside the restricted area and got his feet set, and Jim Boeheim. Actually, Corey, you can comment about that, but Jim Boeheim went crazy with 10 seconds left. It was 2 technical fouls, I believe, or 1, I'm not really sure.
Got ejected, and
there were 10 seconds left. They could have fouled, maybe missed the front end of a 2 free throws, and it could have been 3-point game. They could have been back in it, but I think you got to keep your calm. That's the first time he's been ejected in the regular season.
So Cuse goes down. Let's just talk a little bit about that, the game today, because obviously the Boston College game was just a poor display all around, losing to a really poor team. But Cuse showed one of the things that they've been struggling with is getting scoring outside of CJ Fair. And this is a good point guard, obviously.
Very good.
Everybody knows that as a freshman, command of the team, but he's not a great scorer, and they don't really have a lot of scoring options aside from Fair.
Yeah, that's been the real struggle for them the whole season, is they haven't found a real score. And that shine today without CJ Fair, who isn't really a great shooter, more of a mid-range game. Then they have trouble scoring. And Tyler Ennis, he's a great distributor of the ball. He's kind of like Steve Nash, great passing ability. He knows how to get the ball. He doesn't waste time dribbling. But if they don't have that second score, I think it's going to be very tough for them to progress in the tournament.
So the big call in the game, as we alluded to, was the charge call on Fair. Hood goes in, and he takes the charge on Fair. Ironically, the first game ended where Hood was going into the lane. This was in the Carrier Dome.
Clear hack.
He got fouled, no call. So both games ended with controversial calls or no calls. I think it's deserving that they split the games. But as Rory said, Boeheim lost his cool. And
2 still very good teams.
Yeah. So Cuse goes down. They're the first number 1 team to lose twice in the same week since 2010 Texas did so. So Syracuse is going to go down a little bit in the rankings. And this has been kind of coming because Syracuse has won so many close games. You thought they would lose sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty obvious. I mean, with some tough games up ahead, and with the rigorous schedule of the ACC, there's no way you're going to go undefeated at the ACC. But talking about undefeated, Wichita State stays undefeated with a win against Drake, a very demonstrative win, about 80-50 or something of that sort. And they're 29-0, first team since Illinois, I believe, with Darren Williams, obviously, like Luther. So, Wichita State, the argument's going to be they deserve to be number 1, or should Florida be number 1? What do you think?
I think that Wichita should be the number 2 team in the country, to be honest. I think Florida is playing the best right now. They haven't lost a game in SEC play. They've been on a roll ever since they got Walker back. And I think Florida is playing the best in the country. Does that mean they should be number 1? I mean, it's hard to really know what a number 1 team in the rankings means, because is it the team we lost the latest? Is it the best team? I think Florida should go number 1. Nothing against Wichita being number 2. They're undefeated.
And I agree with you. It doesn't really matter what they're ranked at.
It's the seeding. As
seeding.
Calipari says, it's all about seeding. Mm-hmm. So I think Wichita and Florida should be 1-2, no doubt.
Mm-hmm. And also just Kentucky, another nail-biter for Kentucky. They've looked very, very concerning as of late. Barely won versus LSU with a Julius Randle tip at the end of the game.
OT.
An OT. And then LSU with a terrible final possession. I mean, it was 5 seconds left, but they gave the ball to Kentucky. It was a really weird play. But anyway, Kentucky, just a note, very lucky to slide past LSU at home, too.
Yeah, Kentucky, I think their guard play is that's what's going to determine it, because they have the front line, Willie Cauley-Stein, Randall. They got big bodies inside.
But Harrison, they make a lot of very bad turnovers that you just can't have inexperience. And Calipari has not been able to tame them as of yet, like he did with Kid Gilchrist and Anthony Davis.
So that's another thing to watch in the SEC. Kentucky, they need to have a good win over Florida because they don't really have a lot of quality wins. That's going to be really important for them. The SEC might be a 2-bid league, which is very concerning for the SEC, who's so good at football. We hear that all the time up here in the North. But so we'll see about that. And we'll finish off with our final topic, the NFL Scouting Combine. It's going on right now. Michael Sands spoke to the press. We got quarterbacks, none of whom are throwing, as usual. But so we had some measurements come in. Manziel is under 6 foot tall. What do you think, Roy, about that?
In my opinion, I think it's concerning, but I think it's not really the height that's concerning, because we've seen that with guys like Russell Wilson and Drew Brees. I think it's the innate running ability in his mind. The fact that he and guys like RG3 are just, their first instinct is to run. It's not to go down. So I think that's really the part that's important. And I remember they talked about his hand size, actually. That's one of the big things about QBs. And Bill O'Brien, the Texans coach, was talking about how he needs that in a QB. And that wasn't bad with Johnny. He has a pretty big hand. But I think it's really the innate running ability that's going to scare teams off of him.
I mean, I might just like Manziel so much watching him because he runs around and he's so exciting.
I mean, who can't?
To be a little biased. But I personally think that the height does not matter as much as people think. Put it this way. Your offensive linemen are going to be 6'6" or 6'5". They're huge guys. I don't think it matters if you're 5'11" or if you're 6'2". You're not going to be able to see over your offensive line or your defensive line. So I think that little height difference doesn't matter as much. I think Manziel, the thing that's going to determine his career is his accuracy.
Yeah.
Because we all know he can make so many plays with his feet. He's so elusive. But if he can stick in there, I think he has underrated accuracy, and he has a pretty good arm strength. So I think that if Manziel can make some plays and put in a good system, that's key. Put in a good system like Russell Wilson was in, I think he can make some plays in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. And just a couple other notes. Blake Bortles, he's a prototype NFL quarterback.
6'5".
6'5", big. He definitely see over the line, I'll tell you that much. And Teddy Bridgewater, also not that big either, and he's very skinny too. That's also some of the concerns with Johnny and Teddy.
Yeah, so they're going to be coming at each other for the number 1 pick probably, as long as Clowney doesn't jump up into that range for the Texans.
Yeah, and with all of this, you guys have like Clowney and the Texas and the Auburn tackle going up the ranks.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's going to be interesting what road the Texans go down. And I think they need to take a quarterback.
And just one more thing, not talking about who the Texans should pick, but one thing I want to note is actually a guy I watched in college bunch as he's on ESPN. Derek Carr, another NFL prototype quarterback. Big arm, obviously brothers of
David Carr,
David
former
Carr.
number 1 pick of the Texans.
Played for Fresno State, didn't really have that much competition. But I think, from what I've seen, from what I've heard from guys like Jaws, and just people talking about him, I really like him. I just want to say as one of the guys underrated in the draft.
So, I mean, this is a year for the quarterbacks. You have Bortles, as Roy talked about, Bridgewater, Manziel, Carr, Kirk Cousins is a second-round pick is what the Redskins are looking for him. Mm-hmm. So we have a bunch of quarterbacks that are available. We also have Clowney as a as a pass rusher. We got some good tackles up front, as you said. So, I mean, the NFL draft's going to be really interesting. We'll see where Michael Sam goes. Probably going to be a 3rd to 7th round pick. So the NFL draft's something to look forward to as we go through the year.
Yeah.
So, it's been really fun. This took up a lot of our car ride, which we really needed, because what else would we be doing? Maybe watch ESPN. We'll probably watch the end of some games on our app. And so, it's been fun, guys. Maybe, does my dad want to say something?
Dad, say something to the crowd.
I think you guys are awesome. I'm just mesmerized. ESPN, move over. These guys are taking over.